Hi, everyone. It's a few minutes after 6 on Monday, and this is your video number 283, closing comment for the day. A very exciting day. This chart that I'm showing you on the screen is one that I have not shown you before, but it was key today for me to see the rally coming when we were down. This is the Russell 2000, and it's a small cap index, and because of that, very often it's a little bit more difficult for companies in this category to be able to borrow money, so they need low rates. In any event, they can't raise money like the large cap companies do by issuing either bonds or shares in excess, so they deal with a lot of bank debt. This morning, it was down pretty substantially. Again, like all the rest, had been lower overnight and was about mid-range in the morning. And when the market would not go down any further, and the Dow, by the way, was down 760, but kind of stopped on a dime there, and I'll show you that chart in a minute. This started to rally, and on the basis of what I was seeing in the market, I decided to take a look at a couple of stocks that we were following, and we ended up buying some CVS calls near support. In the meantime, this continued up and was actually up well before the Dow and the S&P were. The NASDAQ was also outperforming, and while the Russell was up 2.3%, the biggest gainer of the day, the NASDAQ was up 137 or 1.43%, which was number two. You can see we were down in support at the lows, and we closed on the high. So that was one of the main reasons that I went long today. The other chart that I was keying off of this morning when I did my first video was the S&P, and the S&P overnight was right back down to this area of support, which is where its last breakout was, around this 2975 area. It came all the way down here to exactly 2935, which was coincidentally the moving average, the 100-day moving average. This is the 50-day, this blue line, and it looks like it may cross to the upside, which would have some pretty bullish implications technically. In the meantime, it did the same thing. It rallied up during the day, and then at 2 o'clock, when the Fed came out and said they were buying individual bonds, all the markets crossed over into the positive, and all closed pretty close to the high. On a range line, even the Dow, which only closed up 157, had been down 760 and up 280. So a close of up 150, 100 from the high and 900 from the low was also a pretty impressive looking chart. The last chart that I'm going to show you is the gold, because I did a fairly long video on Sunday night and was talking about the fact that gold broke out at 1700 and has only closed below that 1700 once here and once here in a 2.5 month period. So overnight, when the market was weak on the coronavirus spiking news, we were up here in the 1740 area. We got all the way back down to 1706. We closed in the middle, mid-range. It shows here unchanged, but in point of fact, that was actually up $10, or down $10. I'm sorry. In any event, like I said, it was a very exciting day. Market internals were 2-to-1 on the NYSE and 2.5-to-1 On the NASDAQ, volume was up a little, which is a good sign. The US dollar was down. Shopify had big news that they have a deal to facilitate Walmart's online strategies. The stock was up 62 or 8.5%, while Walmart was up basically unchanged, up 34 cents on a $104 stock. Oil did the same thing that the market did. It was lower this morning and managed to close up 86 cents. As I said, the gold was down 10. Bitcoin was down 25 on a very quiet day. What was interesting to me was that the bonds in the quote, I mention it all the time, flight to safety trade, were actually higher this morning, I guess, in fear that we were going to have another, major down day. They were actually higher than they were last Thursday when the market was down 1,800. They had an outside day, meaning a higher high followed by a lower low, and they closed about unchanged or up about 4 ticks. Last but not least, Hertz did get approval to do a $1 billion offering. The problem is that the stock is back down at $1.88, was down 95 cents today, or 34%. I'm going to guess that any deal that gets done there will have to be done at a discount, which means if the stock stays where it is right now, I'd expect to get a deal done around $1. So that'd be 1 billion shares added to their 142 million shares that are outstanding. And that would be dilution for the current equity holders of roughly 90%. Not great to be a Hertz shareholder. All right, folks, have a good evening. I'll be back in the morning.